Hey everyone, and welcome back to Smart Tutor. Today, we are going deep, and I mean deep, inside the body to talk about the microscopic wars that can lead to something called peptic ulcer disease. If you find this stuff helpful, do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss our next deep dive.
All right, let's journey into this hidden world, your gastrointestinal tract. Now, you got to picture this as a super delicate ecosystem. There's this constant battle happening between the good guys and the bad guys, and that balance is what keeps you feeling good. But when that balance gets thrown off, well, the results can be pretty painful.
And this is exactly what happens when that battle is lost. The aggressive forces, things like your own stomach acid and digestive enzymes, they literally start to burn a sore, an ulcer, right into the protective lining of your stomach or your small intestine. Yikes.
So what causes this defense system to just break down? Well, in this story, the attack is almost always led by two main culprits, two primary offenders that we really need to get to know.
Okay, first up is this sneaky little bacterium called H. pylori. Think of it as a stealth invader. It gets into your stomach lining and it starts to weaken that protective mucus shield. Once that shield is down, corrosive stomach acid can get through and burn the sensitive tissue underneath.
And the impact of this one little bacterium, it's staggering. Just look at these numbers. H. pylori was responsible for about 95% of ulcers in the duodenum. That's the first part of your small intestine. And up to 85% of ulcers that happen in the stomach itself. That's huge.
Now, the second major cause is way more common, and is probably sitting in a lot of our medicine cabinets right now. We're talking about NSAIDs, drugs like aspirin and ibuprofen, which can cause some serious damage, especially if you're using them long-term.
What's interesting is that these two bad guys have totally different attack plans. H. pylori, as we said, directly weakens that mucus shield, but NSAIDs, they're more like saboteurs. They block the production of chemicals called prostaglandins, and these are the very things your body needs to keep that shield strong and healthy in the first place.
Okay, so if we want to figure out how to fight back and actually treat these ulcers, we first need to understand the basic rules of engagement on this battlefield.
Just think of your gut as being on a seesaw, constantly trying to balance the defensive forces against the aggressive ones. On one side, the good guys, you've got this protective mucus layer and bicarbonate, which neutralizes acid. But on the other side, the bad guys, you've got stomach acid, digestive enzymes, and then external factors like H. pylori and stress. Ulcers happen when that aggressive side gets way too heavy.
Now, the main weapon for the aggressive forces is, without a doubt, stomach acid. It's made in these specialized little factories called parietal cells, which you can see right here. And these cells use this incredible mechanism called the proton pump to just churn out that acid.
So when those aggressive forces finally breach the defenses and start winning the war, it's time to call in the pharmacological reinforcements. I'm talking about the medications that are specifically designed to restore that balance and give the body a chance to heal.
First up, let's bring in the heavy hitters, the most potent troops in our entire arsenal, the elite special forces known as proton pump inhibitors, or PPIs.
This image really shows why PPIs are so effective. They don't bother with intercepting signals or anything like that. Nope. They go straight for the acid factories themselves, the parietal cells, and they shut down those proton pumps directly. This basically grinds acid production to a halt for up to 48 hours.
So, the most important takeaway here is that these drugs are incredibly powerful because they irreversibly shut down the pumps. This class includes really common medications you've probably heard of, like omeprazole, and they are, hands down, the most powerful acid-suppressing drugs we have. All right, next on the roster, we have our intelligence unit. These drugs are designed to intercept enemy communications before the orders can even reach the acid factories.
These drugs are called H2 receptor antagonists, and they work by blocking one of the key signals, a chemical called histamine, that tells the parietal cells to start ramping up acid production. By basically cutting the communication lines, they effectively lower the overall output of acid.
Now, unlike the PPIs, their blockade is reversible. This category includes drugs like ranitidine and famotidine, and one thing they're especially good at is reducing the acid that your stomach naturally produces overnight while you're sleeping.
But what if you need relief right now, on the front lines? Well, for that, we deploy the rapid response medics, antacids.
Antacids have a very simple but very effective mission. They don't mess with the acid factories at all.
Instead, they just jump right onto the battlefield and chemically neutralize the acid that's already sloshing around in the stomach. And that's what gives you that super quick relief from the burning pain.
And finally, we've got the combat engineers of our pharmacological army. Their job isn't really to fight the enemy directly, but to rebuild and fortify our own defenses. So on the left, you can see how drugs like sucralfate work. They form this kind of protective liquid bandage that covers the ulcer and shields it. Then on the right, you have something like misoprostol, which is a synthetic version of those protective prostaglandins we talked about. It actually helps rebuild the stomach's own natural defenses. Pretty cool.
But here's the thing. Winning this internal war, especially against a really persistent enemy like H. pylori, requires more than just sending in one unit at a time. It demands a coordinated, multi-pronged strategy.
To completely wipe out an H. pylori infection, the gold standard is what we call triple therapy. Think of it as a combined arms assault. This strategy uses a powerful PPI to cut down the acid so the ulcer can heal, plus 2 different antibiotics to attack the bacteria from multiple angles. It makes sure that bug is gone for good.
But, even the best medications in the world can't secure a lasting peace all by themselves. Long-term victory means you have to make some lifestyle changes to support your body's defenses. And we're talking simple stuff, like eating smaller meals and trying to avoid known irritants like smoking, alcohol, and super spicy or fatty foods.
So, for figuring out the main culprits like H. pylori to rolling out a full-on strategic combination of medications, managing peptic ulcer disease really is all about restoring that delicate balance. Which kind of leaves us with a final thought, right? What steps are you taking to help reinforce your own body's defenses? Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next explainer.